Hello, my sweet and precious students. We're back and we're watching we're working on lesson 45 today. It's on page 272. We're going to be talking about dividing by a decimal number. Dividing by a decimal number. So we've kind of done some division in the last lesson. We did division with decimal where you have to bring that decimal up. But sometimes we get problems like this. So make sure you're writing these down in your notes, okay? 3.36 divided by 0.06 or 0.06, right? This is how it's written in the book, but I usually lob my 0 off in the front. That's why I did that initially. Okay, so so what this means is we're going to take this guy and that's going to go under our table. And we're going to divide that by 0.06. Now, we can never have a decimal out here. So what we have to do is move this over 2 spots to get rid of that decimal. If I move this 2 spots, I have to move this guy 2 spots. So my new problem is 6, because now it's just 6 with a decimal, right? 336. So 6 goes into 300, or it doesn't go into 3, so we can put a 0 there if you need to as a placeholder, but it does go into 33 5 times. 5 times 6 is 30. Subtract that and we get 3. Bring down another 6. 3 goes into 36 6 times. So this answer is going to be 56. 3 and 36 hundredths divided by 6 hundredths is going to be 56. Okay? So it's all about moving that decimal. And what you do to one side, you've got to do to the other, and then it's just the same division that we've been doing all along. So example number 2 says, divide 0.144 divided by 0.8. So we're going to take this guy and put it under the table, 0.144. We're going to divide that by 0.8. I'm going to move this over 1 spot, and if I move that over 1 spot, I got to move this guy over 1 spot. So my new problem that I have is, I'll move that over here, is 8 and then 1.44. 1.44. So I'm going to take this decimal and I'm going to bring it up to here, okay? 8 goes in, it can't go into 1, so I'm going to put a 0 there, but it can go into 14 1 time, because if we do 2, that's 16, too much. So 8. So we're going to subtract, and we get 6, okay? 14 minus 8 will give us 6. Bring down that 4. 8 goes into 64 8 times. 8 times 8 is 64, so we have no remainders, or and we wouldn't have a remainder dealing with decimals. We would just keep adding zeros. So all this equals 0.18 or 18 hundredths. 18 hundredths. All right, so let's take an example of, that was 2. Example 3. All right, guys, so this is 15.4 divided by 0.07. All right, so the way that I'm doing these, you guys need to be showing your work to make sure you're doing the same thing. So on the outside, I'm going to have 0.07. On the inside, I'm going to have 15.4. I'm going to move this over 2 spots, which means I need to move this over 2 spots. Now I have a decimal here. Notice I have this blank spot. I got to throw a 0 in there, okay? So the problem is going to be 7 divided by 1540, and the decimal's at the end. So bring that decimal up to here. 7 goes into, can't go into 1, but it can go into 15 2 times. That's 14. So subtract and bring down. 7 goes into 14 2 times. 2 times 7 is 14. 0, bring down a 0. Guys, you have to put another 0 here, because do you see I have that decimal here? Okay, so even though the remainder is 0, it's not 22, it's 220. So be very careful about that. So this guy up here is 220. All right, let's look at some others. Example number 4. So example number 4 says 21 divided by 0.5. 21 divided by 0.5. Well, this is kind of a unique one because we've talked a little bit about multiplying. We'll leave it like it is for right now. Okay, so 21 divided by 1/2 is going to be, this is in front, so it goes under the table like this, 21. I cannot have decimals here, so I'm going to move this over 1 spot. Decimal, if it's not shown, is always at the end. I'm going to move that over 1 spot, which means now I have a 0 here, okay? So I'm not going to rewrite this, because I can just do the math right in here. 5 goes into 21 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20. 1 bring down a 0, because remember that we have our decimal here, so we're going to bring our decimal up. 5 goes into 10 2 times. 2 times 5 is 10, and we have no remainders that we'll need for a decimal. So 21 divided by 1/2 gives me 42. Gives me 42. All right, so I don't want to stop recording by mistake. All right, so let's see. Example number 5 says 1.54 divided by 8/10. So we take 8/10 and we divide it by 1.54, okay? This has to be moved over to here, and this has to be moved over here. So I'm gonna bring that decimal up. 8 goes into 15 2 times, sorry. No, not even 2. Wait, what am I saying? It goes in 1 time, and that's 8 with a minus 7, right? Because if we minus those, almost did it twice. Then we go into 4, right? So, and we bring down a 4. So 8 goes into 74. Well, if we do 9 times 8 is 72. So we have a remainder of 2, but we're not going to write a remainder with our decimal. What we're going to do is add some zeros. Just keep slapping some zeros on the end there like we did in that last lesson. Bring that down, that's 20. 8 goes into 20 2 times. 2 times 8 is 16. Subtract, we get 4. Bring down another 0. We get 8 goes into 4 5 times. So 1 and 54 hundredths divided by 8/10 gives me 1 and 925 thousandths. 925 thousandths. All right. So for a word problem, number 6 says, how many 35-cent erasers can be purchased for $7? $7. Okay, well, we have, so we're going to take that $7 and we're going to divide it by 35 cents. But again, I can't have our decimal out here, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 1, 2. So the problem really is 35 goes into 700. I'm going to bring that decimal right up here. 35 goes into 70 2 times. 2 times 35 gives me 70. I minus and I bring down and I have a 0, but notice my decimal's here, right? Because I boosted it up from here. I have to have a 0 here as a placeholder. 35 goes into 0 times, okay? So that means 20 erasers can be purchased for $7, okay? And it's a word problem, so you need to have a sentence. All right, guys, if you have any questions, let me know. There are some practice problems on the bottom here, so go ahead and pause the video, do those practice problems on the page, on bottom of page 275, and we'll go from there. So. All right, so we can't have a decimal out here, so I'm gonna move this over 1. Move this over 1. So my new problem is 6 and 51.6. Bring our decimal up to here. 6 goes into here. 6 times 8, yeah, 8 times. 6 times 8 is 48. Minus that, I get 3. Bring down our 6. 6 goes into 36 6 times. So with no remainder, 6 times 6 is 36, right? So that means that 5 and 16 hundredths divided by 6/10 gives me 8 and 6/10. 8 and 6/10. That's for A. For B, we have 0.144 divided by 0.09. So it's going to be 0.09 divided by 0.144. I'm going to move this spot over 1, 2 spots, 1, 2 spots. So now what I have is 9 divided by 4.4. 9 goes into 14 2 times. Oh, no, it doesn't. Just 1 time. Sorry. Making that mistake. 1 times 9 is 9. Subtract that, I get 5. Bring down, I get 4. 9 goes into 54 6 times. 6 times 9 is 54, so we have no remainders. Remember, though, that this decimal is right here, so I got to boost that decimal right up to here. I forgot to do that, so you can't kind of see it. So equals 1.6, or 1 and 6/10. So for C, we have 23.8 divided by 0.07. All right, so we're going to do 0.07 divided by 23.8. Move this over 1, 2 spots, 1, 2 spots. And so we end up with 7, 23, 8, and then I moved it over a spot, right? So I gotta have that placeholder. So 7 goes into 23 3 times. 3 times 7 is 21. 2, bring down an 8. And remember, oh, the decimal's here, right? So let's boost that up to here. And that's why it's really important that you line up with what you're doing. Okay, so 7 goes into 28 4 times. 4 times 7 is 28. Okay, bring down a 0. 7 goes into 0 0 times, and I definitely have to have that there, so I have that placeholder. So all this is 340. 340. All right, so for D, 24 divided by 0.08. 0.08 divided by 24. Now, we cannot have a decimal out here, so we have to go 1, 2 spots. And the decimal is always already right here, so 1, 2. So I'm going to boost my decimal up to here. 8 goes into 24 3 times. 3 times 8 is 24. Minus that, we get 0. Bring down, we get 0. 8 goes into 0 0 times. 0 times 0 is 0. So you don't even have to do that part. You just keep bringing down zeros. Another 0. 8 goes into 0 0 times. But I have to have enough for my placeholder, right? And with my decimal. So all this equals 300. 300. All right, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we will see you on the next lesson. Thanks, guys.